Our customers compete with anyone when it comes to hyperscale and efficient hardware.
How do you lead that?
Number one reason a company fails is they don't get market transitions.
Absolutely. I think the industry is going through a tremendous transformation.
Pankaj, great to see you.
Well, thank you. Great to see you too.
You know, I guess one of the big pieces of news in our industry this year is that you are actually leaving Cisco, which is, it is very big news because you've had such an incredibly fundamental impact on the company for such a long time. I have to ask you, why are you leaving? And why now?
Well, thank you for your kind words. By the way, I launched a major transformation almost a year and a half plus ago. And when I launched that, I had talked about creating a transition at some point in time. And I believe that the time to transition is now. And the reason why I say that, Steve, is because both the pace of change and the market disruptions occurring, they're occurring at such a fast pace.
They are.
That I feel that Cisco, in particular, the company I love the most, should not waste any time.
Right.
It should happen now. And so I said, you know, would it not be great if I really help Chuck to really set up for a major success out in the future, where we have a tremendous innovation engine going, and at the same time, the company, and in particular, engineering organization, is set up for future.
So, I mean, it sounds like the big technology shifts which are going on now, you know, virtualization and cloud, have actually forced Cisco to reimagine how it develops technology.
Absolutely.
Is that true?
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. I think this is where the way we think, it's not about something that we do and we will deliver to cloud 6 months later or a year later. It's about thinking about cloud day one.
Right.
It's thinking about what kind of business model that we are going to have in place for anything new that we do. And some of the announcements that you hear today at Mobile World Congress, like, you know, Ultra Services Platform, for example, they really resonate so well with where we are headed. So I think this is the time, both from technology, the way we use tools, the way we use the agile and the DevOps model, for example, as well as the business model that customers want us to have in place so they can consume our technology very differently than they have done in the past.
Right. So actually, I mean, I guess one of the concerns that people might have had is that Cisco, in the face of all of this technology, wouldn't, and with the scale that it's at, wouldn't be able to continue developing technology at the speed that it always has done in this incredibly entrepreneurial way. But actually what you're describing is a way of doing business where you're even going to accelerate beyond that.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's just the opposite. And that's a great question.
That's really interesting.
It is really exciting times. You know, the announcement that you heard about the Ultra Services Platform, internally we call that Project Nafalo. And we made an announcement back in November about cloud scale networking, and we call internally that project XSpeed. Both of these major announcements are the result of something that I launched about a year and a half ago as part of Alpha Teams. And it was all about think big but act small. Give small and nimble teams a lot of autonomy to innovate at an incredible speed.
Right.
So both of these projects, as part of the Alpha Teams, they are internal startups.
Right.
I have 7 of them, okay, and we have made announcements on 2 of them so far now. And
does that mean there's another 5 coming?
Yes,
well, that's very exciting.
They're coming, and I have, by the way, in addition to that, I have another 30 plus small nimble teams operating in agile DevOps model.
Wow.
And this is part of the culture. This is the culture that I would be very proud of at Cisco for years to come. And this is literally like creating an internal startup. That's what it is. We give them all the freedom to innovate, and they have laser focus on the disruptive innovation that they're really going to deliver. And it's typically they're small teams. I mean,
but they do get to tap into an infrastructure and a culture and a support network of intellectual property and such a huge addressable market. So it's a huge advantage, and they also don't have to worry that that they're working at a startup which may or may not make it.
So this is actually, in my opinion, it's best of both the worlds, right?
Yeah, I think so.
The team has access to all of Cisco IP. It has access to the entire supply chain, IT support, everything that they need. And as long as they create the product that works, guess what? The kick-ass 20,000 plus sales team will sell like there's no tomorrow, right? So this is the huge advantage that they have compared to a startup that faces so much of risks.
Is that the thing that you're most proud of in your time at Cisco, or is there a particular product that you developed or put in motion that you look back on especially fondly?
I would say this is one of the three major things I'm very proud of. Something that I did equivalent to the Alpha project back in 90s, and I delivered that product in 9.5 months with a very small team of 7 engineers. So I was pretty proud of what we created at the time. So this is something which has stayed with me all along to say, I want to do something different. And this was one way. So one is about the Alpha teams. The other two elements that I'm pretty proud of are the customer focus. I would say maniacal customer focus and customer success. And the number of customer relationships that I have built over the years, I'm very proud of it. And
it's not like you're in the back room developing technology, in the abstract.
It's right on the factory floor all the time.
There's never anything conceitful about the products that Cisco develops.
Absolutely. And then the third thing I'm very proud of is about the innovation engine that we have created, right? And so those are the three things I'm very proud of. And if I can just expand a little bit on the question that you asked about the internal startup and what we do, it is all part of something that I launched internally a little bit more than a year ago. And I call it our culture, Ciscoology. It's part of a culture, and that is one thing that I would be very proud of as I sunset, which would be, and I hand over in hands of a young and more capable team as I depart, which would be Ciscoology is all about number one, to think big, act small, and move with speed and autonomy. Number two, build kick-ass products and technologies and solutions that simply work. Number three is all about celebration when the customers really achieve their objective, not when you ship a product, right? And then it's about really building a great team. So this is about really having your best talent in the industry. Make sure that you can recruit and you can retain them for a long time. And you want to always have very intense market leadership, right? So you want to have a very intense focus on that. So I think I would be very proud of these 5 major cultural elements that we can carry on for many years to come.
It's so interesting to talk to somebody who's really known as a technologist, who's actually so focused on culture. And I think that your customers, a lot of them could really learn a lot from that, because of course we're not in a technology industry, we're in a culture industry, we're in a relationship industry. It really comes down to the people who work in it. Let me ask you a question. Right now, I mean, we've both lived through some huge shifts. We've lived through the shift from circuit to packet switching, from fixed to mobile networks, but we're in the middle of this maelstrom of inceptions at the moment. There's 5G, there's virtualization, there's just so many different technologies coming at service providers. Where does it end up? I mean, to me, it feels like, and talking to John last year, John Chambers, just sitting over there, I mean, to me, what he was really predicting was it's a cloud. It's the world's a cloud, and it's sitting on top of a white box network.
Absolutely.
At some point. Is that where you see us going?
Yeah, I believe so. And actually, I would say I firmly believe so. I think the cloud is huge. This is the reason why I tell my team to think about cloud first. I was talking to one of my peers in the industry a couple of weeks ago, and she told me, and this is something that I have used internally, it's do not fear cloud, embrace cloud, because it's here to stay.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to really bring you all the benefits that we have heard about, agility for both technology and business, simplicity, lower total cost of ownership, so on, management ease, and so on and so forth. So cloud, along with cloud comes virtualization.
Right.
We talk about SDN, and you'll remember this, Steve, that, and this is what one of the things I'm very proud of at Cisco, that a few years ago, people had some doubts on whether Cisco is going to lead the world of virtualization and SDN and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
Today, not only we lead with the number of VNFs, but what you do with them and how do you generate the revenue out of them is something that I'm very proud of. So I think when you talk about cloud, virtualization, you talk about the journey of digitization, the role that IoT is going to play. This is the reason why we made an acquisition of Jasper recently to really take us to a very different level on the IoT. And I don't want to forget about really transforming the user experiences, right? At the end of the day, as service providers are in a great position to be able to do that. That along with security, because one of the things that both businesses as well as consumers will look for is security is a very board level conversation for all the right reasons, with all the distributed and sophisticated attacks that we see every single day. I think this is something that we can clearly contribute immensely to the industry, and service providers have a huge role to play despite all the disruptions and commoditization that you hear about.
Oh yeah.
And those fears have been there forever.
Yeah.
They're nothing new.
No, it's perennial.
Exactly. But I personally believe that service providers will continue to lead in providing those differentiated experiences, and this is where Cisco will be working with that all the time to help them create new differentiated services and increase their top line while they reduce their OpEx.
Isn't it interesting though how a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, everybody was saying, oh, you know, OTT companies are going to take over the world, and, you know, forget about the tier ones, it's just going to be Amazon, and Cisco's had it, you know, there's no way they can embrace virtualization. You know, we move on 3 years, it doesn't look like that at all. And actually, I mean, I think, you know, it's incredibly impressive how Cisco has, as you say, embraced the cloud. You know, there's a point there where probably, you know, some people internally were thinking, we're blinking a little bit about, you know, oh, here it comes, how on earth do we deal with this? But actually, to be so aggressive, and then to also go out to market and demonstrate that ability was a remarkably, you know, astute thing. But of course, you have to have the technology to back it up.
That's a foundation. Right? You need to. You need to. And you know, we have been investing pretty heavily. I mean, as you know, Steve, we have pretty much followed our four-pronged strategy at large of build, buy, partner, and with the alpha projects I talked about earlier about, we also co-develop. So for a lot of the projects, one of the things that we have done is put a lot of focus on code development, because user agile and the DevOps model, so that when we come out with a technology or the offer, not only it meets the customer requirements and the needs, but it can be operationalized very quickly, right? And I think as you operationalize very quickly a given technology for a service provider or an enterprise customers, it's going to benefit them, it's going to benefit Cisco, right? So it works both ways.
It certainly does. Pankaj, I mean, you're really an elder statesman, if I can say that, of the communications industry. I mean, you built the products
yes, I hear.
that you know that the world's networks are built on, and that is something which is quite an extraordinary achievement. I mean, really, you know, my hat is off to you, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see what you do next. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you, Steve, and all the best to you.
Thank you. Good luck. Thank you.
Our customers compete with anyone when it comes to hyperscale and efficient hardware.
How do you lead that?
Number one reason the company fails is they don't get market transitions.
Absolutely. I think the industry is going through a tremendous transformation.